If you call a spade, you'll get labeled all types of names. Imagine Scott Agnes criticizing South Carolina and Asia Wilson fans for going after Caitlin Clark during her rookie season. Imagine the backlash.
Imagine being so rattled by happy fans clapping in the stands that you sit down and hammer out an essay like you're applying for Darth Vader's PR department. That's exactly what went down when one Indiana Fever reporter decided Caitlin Clark supporters weren't just fans. They were basically Star Wars villains with foam fingers. Yes, you heard that right. In today's episode of Journalists Gone Wild, we dive into the viral meltdown that has everyone wondering, did the WNBA suddenly turn into a Marvel movie? Grab your popcorn, because this drama is running hotter than Caitlin's three-point percentage.
In an article, he put something in there, and I don't know if he thought it was going to be a side note to his article, but you cannot call Caitlin Clark fans the dark side of the fandom. No, that wasn't the greatest or smartest idea in the world.
Picture this. Caitlin Clark, the player who basically dragged women's basketball into living rooms across America, suddenly finds herself the subject of a hit piece. And not just a regular hot take. Oh no, this was a full-on internet tantrum disguised as journalism. The target wasn't Caitlin directly, that would have been too obvious. Instead, the reporter zeroed in on her fans, the very people who dared to chew too loudly. Apparently, clapping for the best rookie in the game is now a federal offense.
This is really disappointing from a journalist so closely linked to the Indiana Fever organization. This is really, really disappointing, and it's really concerning in my opinion, because it is painting a 23-year-old on their team who is currently injured.
So here's the deal. This reporter, let's just call him the captain of cold takes, has officially labeled Caitlin Clark supporters as the dark side. Yep. You throw on a Fever jersey, scream when she drains a three, and suddenly you're one lightsaber away from a Sith initiation. At this point, the only thing missing is the Star Wars soundtrack every time somebody buys her jersey.
Imagine Scott Agnes writing an article about the Reese's Pieces and all their negative vitriol, shout out to L. Duncan, that's been targeted to Caitlin Clark. Imagine the backlash he would receive. But what's the safe way out? What's the safest way to big up the Indiana Fever? Well, you tear down Caitlin Clark's fans.
Meanwhile, Indiana Fever management is still out here doing, well, absolutely nothing. They're stumbling around like Scooby-Doo characters trying to solve a mystery that isn't even a mystery. Fans are upset because it's obvious. The most electrifying rookie in WNBA history is being treated in a league where officiating feels more WWE than professional basketball. And the suits? Nowhere to be found.
Man, this is very sad, very disappointing. It's disgusting that Caitlin Clark has to be subjected to this nonsense. And enough's enough. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. She needs to come out and draw the line in the sand. And it would not shock me if at some point, man, Caitlin Clark is just done with this.
Let's start with the league itself. The WNBA somehow managed to take Caitlin Clark, the same woman who casually dropped 40-point triple-doubles in college, and toss her into a system where referees look like they graduated from the Petty Academy of Officiating. Watching her games is less like basketball and more like sitting through a live Shakespeare tragedy, but directed by someone who spends all day arguing on Twitter.
But yesterday they also announced the skills competition for the WNBA All-Star team. And she didn't make that either. So you argued she wasn't good for the Olympics. Your argument, though I don't buy it, but it was your argument, women's basketball, that she would be a distraction. So isn't the perfect place to put her in the skills competition?
The NCAA, Caitlin was treated like the phenom she is. In the WNBA, she's treated like she just transferred into Mean Girls High. If college hoops was the supportive counselor cheering her on, the league is Regina George demanding to know why she's so talented. Instead of showcasing their most marketable star, they shove her into random if-we-have-time coverage slots. And that brings us back to our dear reporter, a man so allergic to accountability, he probably breaks out in hives when someone says the word objectivity. He's not just writing articles anymore, he's on a full-blown crusade. According to him, being a Clark fan makes you toxic. Not because you're unruly, not because you're harassing anyone, but simply because you exist. That's not journalism, that's cereal box level logic. And whenever fans call him out for ignoring obvious fouls against Clark, He pivots faster than a yoga instructor mid-sun salutation.
Winners of 7 of 9. The Fever are playing connected.
This guy claims he's been enduring hate. Really? Because last time we checked, Caitlin Clark has been shoved, elbowed, screamed at, and fouled with the grace of a falling piano, and she still answers post-game questions with a smile and a thank you. Meanwhile, our reporter unravels every time someone comments, "Are you sure?" on his timeline. What's worse, he has never, and we mean never, called out the blatant cheap shots aimed at Clark. Not when she's shoved mid-drive. Not when she's body-checked like she's in the NHL. Not even when she's practically tackled on layups. Radio silence. But when it comes to writing a 1,200-word meltdown about her fans, suddenly, his Shakespeare with Wi-Fi.
Nasty, nasty. If y'all don't know who Scott Agnes is, he's a guy that's he's very close to the team. He gets a lot of access. He's in the practices. He's interviewing the players at practice. He's interviewing the players pre-game, post-game. He is very close with the team and has a lot of access to the players and the team.
And here's where it gets truly pathetic. This is all fueled by envy. The WNBA has been begging for attention for decades. Now that Caitlin Clark brings in ratings, sponsors, and jersey sales that crash websites, suddenly success is a crime. It's giving lazy coworker angry at the promotion energy. Only instead of office gossip, we've got elbows, ejections, and one very bitter man with a blog. And that whole "she's not the only rookie" line? Please. Yes, we know there are other rookies. Some of them are fantastic. But buying a Caitlin Clark jersey doesn't make you a cult member. It makes you part of the reason the league is finally thriving. Irony alert, the reporters who bash Clark fans are only relevant right now because of Caitlin Clark. Without her, half of them would be covering pickleball tournaments or reviewing Waffle House menus.
The ignorance is loud here, folks. They're only there for Clark. Boy, you stepped in it. But that dark side can easily seep into the team. The Caitlin Clark fans, the dark side. Because they're very passionate about a player, and yes, they've put their money where their mouth is. So these people, these fans, feel invested.
This man has literally built an entire platform on not supporting her. He's like the president of the Anti-Fan Club. His brand is hating Caitlin Clark so loudly that he hopes you'll forget she's revolutionizing the game in real time. Let's be real. If she were in a league where professionalism and fairness were the norm, she'd already be in MVP talks. Instead, she's out here surviving defensive ambushes like it's a scene from Gladiator while referees sip tea and look the other way. The wildest part? Every time she shows class, humility, and restraint, people twist it into a negative. Why doesn't she clap back? Why doesn't she get angry? Maybe because she knows the microscope is already pointed at her 24/7. She doesn't need to feed trolls who haven't watched an unbiased game since flip phones were cool. Fact is, she's bringing millions in value to a league that couldn't fill bleachers 5 years ago. Fans are finally engaged. And the media's response? You cheer too loudly. That would be hilarious if it weren't so painfully pathetic.
Indiana Fever reporter Scott Agnes has decided that now would be the time, now that the Fever have won a few games, now would be the time to attack Caitlin Clark fans. While, of course, and I'm not even going to go through because some of them are really nasty.
Caitlin Clark hasn't just made the WNBA relevant, she's made it unavoidable. ESPN tracks her like she's running for office. Opposing crowds cheer for her threes. Cities literally see tourism spikes when the Fever come to town. But instead of addressing the real issues, cheap shots, no calls, refs that treat the whistle like a toy, somehow the problem is the fans. If that's the dark side, then hand me a lightsaber. Because this fanbase is building revenue, growing the sport, and inspiring the next generation. Meanwhile, our favorite reporter is sitting at home typing essays into the void while Caitlin keeps making history. She splits defenders like Moses parting the Red Sea, gets called for travels that barely exist, and then watches her opponents throw elbows like drunk rhinos, yet crickets from the officials. It's almost comedy at this point.
By off social media, do you mean that they don't read the notifications? Because they're all on social media, except for maybe Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell. You want me to believe, Brianna Turner's always on social media. You want me to believe that these players who are so addicted to the drama who are so addicted to the outside noise have gone off social media, stop gaslighting us. We don't believe you. You need more people. We don't believe you. You need more people.
And don't even get me started on the foul calls. Caitlyn drives to the rim? Flagrant. She contests a shot? Technical. She blinks on defense? Let's roll the replay. Honestly, toddlers fighting over who gets the booster seat are more fair than this officiating crew. The league has basically turned favoritism into a choose-your-own-adventure book, except every ending somehow paints Caitlyn as the villain. Get fouled? Show her face in slow motion until it looks like a crime scene. Smile after a clutch three? Cue the ominous music.
Now, you would think that sentence is actually setting up in defense of the Indiana Fever, right? Because when you're on the top of the mountain, when you're the GOAT at the top of the mountain, you are going to get all the arrows. You're going to get all the arrows. This is true in any sport. This is true in life in general. When you are successful, you become a target. It doesn't matter that you might have started at the bottom.
At least Darth Vader had a theme song. Caitlyn Clark doesn't even get that luxury. And yet, here's the kicker. She takes all of it, the bad calls, the elbows, the shade, and just keeps producing. Shakes it off, runs back on defense, and drops numbers that make calculators sweat. And the fans? We're right there with her, because supporting greatness isn't optional. It's a reflex. Which brings us full circle to our keyboard warrior. While he's busy polishing his I Told You So trophy, Caitlyn is out here proving herself as the WNBA's real MVP in everything but the official stat sheet. To him, fans are the problem. To us, his comic relief. His that uncle at Thanksgiving claiming gravy is a government conspiracy. And when it comes to basketball, just like in life, you don't always get to pick the hero. Sometimes, the hero picks you.